When people say they want to achieve something, most of the time they phrase it like, I should start working out, or I should focus more on my goals, or I really should stop procrastinating. But the truth is, should doesn't move people. Should is weak. Should leaves room for excuses, delays, distractions, and all the things that kill momentum. If you want real change, if you want to force yourself to achieve your goals, you have to upgrade your language, your beliefs, and your commitment. You must transform your shoulds into musts. When something becomes a must, the energy shifts. It's no longer a question of if or when. It becomes a non-negotiable. You don't wait for the perfect time. You don't wait for motivation, and you don't care how you feel. You do it because it's a must. Think about the moments in life when you were backed into a corner, when there was no plan B, when failure was an option. Did you find a way? Yes, because it had to happen. That's the difference. People rise when the pressure is real, when the stakes are high, when there's no escape route. That same intensity can be applied voluntarily to your goals. When you choose to raise your standards and operate as if success is not optional. Turning a goal into a must means aligning your internal dialogue, your body, and your emotions with that outcome. It means saying to yourself every day, this is happening no matter what. You don't wait for the stars to align or for circumstances to be perfect. You decide, and then you act like someone who's already on the way. The internal shift creates external results. When it's a must, you stop negotiating with your comfort zone. You stop listening to the voice in your head that tells you to take it easy. You silence that voice and you act. The world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you demand with your standards, your habits, your focus, and your follow-through. If your goal is still sitting in the should category, nothing will change. But the moment you draw the line, the moment you say, I will no longer tolerate anything less than this, you become unstoppable. You force yourself not by aggression, but by alignment. Your thoughts, your language, and your actions are all moving in the same direction. You don't need more motivation. You need more urgency. You need more clarity around what's at stake. You need to burn the mental bridge back to who you were and fully step into the identity of someone who follows through, who shows up, who pushes even when it's hard. That's what turns goals into results. That's what builds greatness. That's how you force yourself to rise, by making it a must. Always. Every time. No excuses. The way you feel determines the way you act. And the way you act determines the results you get. So if you want to force yourself to achieve your goals, you must learn how to control your emotional and physical state on command. That's the key. Everything starts with your state. The moment you're in a strong, focused, and empowered state, you do things differently. You take risks. You push harder. You follow through. But if you're in a low state, if you're tired, uncertain, or stuck in negative emotion, nothing happens. You procrastinate. You doubt. You settle. That's why the ability to change your state is non-negotiable. It's not about waiting for a good day or the perfect mood. It's about creating the energy and focus you need in the moment, regardless of how you feel. That means using your body to generate power. Your posture, your breathing, your movement. These are tools to instantly shift how you feel. Stand up straight. Breathe deeper. Move faster. Speak with more intensity. These aren't tricks. They are tools to rewire how your nervous system fires. You don't have to think your way into power. You can move your way into it. Your body is the fastest path to accessing your peak state. Your mind follows your body. When you stand like a leader, when you breathe like a warrior, when you move like someone who's on a mission, your brain starts catching up. You begin to believe it. You begin to feel it. And from that space, taking action becomes automatic. It's no longer about willpower. It's about momentum. You shift into a place where confidence, certainty, and drive take over. That's when you get results. That's when you stop holding back. Think of every moment in your life when you performed at your best. Maybe during a presentation, a workout, a big decision. You were likely in a strong state. You didn't hesitate. You didn't overthink. You just did it. That's the power of being in control of your state. The good news is you don't need to wait for those moments to happen naturally. You can train yourself to access that level of focus, strength, and clarity on demand. And when you do that consistently, the game changes. You don't have to be at the mercy of your emotions. You can condition yourself every day. Make it a habit. Start your mornings with energy. Prime your body. Train your focus. Decide that you are in control. Not your mood, not your stress, not your fear. When you master your state, you master your behavior. And when you master your behavior, you can force yourself to follow through on any goal, no matter how big, no matter how far. The power is already in you. It just needs to be activated every single day. Most people fail to take consistent action because they haven't created real leverage on themselves. They think discipline alone is enough, but willpower fades. What doesn't fade is the emotional pull of pain and pleasure. If you want to force yourself to achieve your goals, you must connect those goals to powerful emotional reasons. You must make it hurt not to follow through. You must make it exciting to succeed. Until you have that internal leverage, you will continue to delay, avoid, and settle for less than what you're capable of. Leverage is about getting honest with yourself. It's looking in the mirror and asking, what will it cost me if I don't change now? Not someday. Not next year. Now. What's the real price of inaction? It might be your health, your self-respect, your finances, your relationships, your future. When you fully associate massive pain with staying where you are, you'll move. Humans are wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure. The problem is, most people don't consciously direct that wiring. They numb it. They lie to themselves. They downplay the consequences of not following through. That's why they stay stuck. But if you flip the switch, if you make the pain of inaction real and the reward of action emotional, you'll force yourself to move. Close your eyes and imagine your life 5 years from now if nothing changes. Imagine still waking up with regret, still feeling behind, still knowing you could have done more, but didn't. Feel the weight of that. Feel the disappointment. Let it hurt. Now imagine the opposite. 5 years from now having taken bold, massive action. Imagine feeling proud. Imagine being ahead. Imagine being the person others look to for inspiration. That contrast is leverage. When the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, you will act. Leverage is also about accountability. You can create external leverage by telling people your goals, by committing publicly, by putting money on the line, or by joining an environment that won't let you quit. Force structure into your life. Force stakes. Force consequences. The brain is incredibly powerful, but it needs urgency. And urgency doesn't show up on its own. You create it. When there's something on the line, when there's no easy way out, action becomes automatic. The truth is, you don't lack motivation. You lack urgency and leverage. And that's not a character flaw. It's just a strategy issue. When you learn to use pain and pleasure consciously, you take back control of your behavior. You rewire your response to challenge. You stop waiting for the right mood or the perfect moment. You act because not acting feels worse. That's when everything shifts. When your goals become emotionally wired into your nervous system and you feel the cost of delay as deeply as the reward of progress, you no longer need to try. You must. And when it becomes a must, you'll find a way every time. When people set goals, they often get stuck in the idea stage. They write them down, they dream big, they get excited for a moment, but they don't follow through because they lack a real plan. Wanting something isn't enough. Clarity is power. If you're serious about achieving your goals, you need a massive action plan, not a vague intention, not a half-baked to-do list. A concrete, focused, relentless strategy that breaks your goal into clear, specific steps and then demands consistent execution. The more detailed the plan, the less room there is for hesitation. People don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because they don't know what to do next. They get overwhelmed by the size of the dream, so they freeze. The mind needs direction. It needs a target, and it needs momentum. A massive action plan solves that. It eliminates confusion. It removes the guesswork. It takes a big outcome and breaks it down into something actionable, something achievable. And the more momentum you build, the more confidence you generate. It's not about taking one perfect step. It's about taking 10 bold steps, learning as you go, and adjusting along the way. Waiting for the perfect plan is the enemy of action. You don't need perfection. You need movement. A massive action plan is about overcommitting in the right direction. It's saying, here's everything I can do, and I'm going to do it all until I figure out what works. That kind of intensity builds discipline. It builds results. You stop asking yourself whether or not it's possible, and you start proving to yourself that it is through daily action. A plan also forces responsibility. It makes you face your own excuses. If you've written it down and the steps are right in front of you, then the only thing stopping you is your own resistance. That's powerful, because once you see that, you can confront it. You can push through it. You can take full ownership of your progress. Your plan becomes a mirror. It reflects back your patterns, your commitment level, and your drive, and it pushes you to level up. The truth is, without structure, you drift. Without action, you decay. Without a plan, your goal remains a wish. But with a massive action plan, you have a weapon. You have a tool to beat procrastination, to outlast uncertainty, and to dominate overwhelm. You can look at your plan and say, no matter how I feel today, this is what needs to get done. That kind of structure builds mental toughness. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on execution. You act because the plan says to act. When your actions are aligned with your outcome, and your plan is built with purpose, success becomes inevitable. You stop waiting. You stop wondering. You move, and that movement becomes progress. That progress becomes belief. And that belief transforms you from someone who hopes to someone who achieves. Every time. If you want lasting success, it's not enough to change your behavior temporarily. You have to go deeper. You have to change your identity. Because no matter how many goals you set or how much action you take, if you're still holding on to an old identity, one that says you're inconsistent, lazy, undisciplined, or average, you'll sabotage your own progress. Your brain is wired to stay consistent with who you believe you are. That's the ultimate force behind every decision you make. If you want to force yourself to achieve your goals, you have to stop trying to just act differently. You have to become someone different. The shift happens the moment you say, this is who I am now. Not, this is what I'm trying. Not, this is what I want. You make a declaration, not just to the world, but to yourself. You install a new identity, one built around the results you're committed to. If you want to get in shape, stop identifying as someone who hates exercise. Become the kind of person who never misses a workout. If you want financial freedom, stop identifying as someone who struggles with money. Become the kind of person who masters it. When the identity shifts, everything else begins to align. Your thoughts, your habits, your decisions, and your standards. People are always acting in alignment with their identity. That's why someone who sees themselves as a leader shows up and leads, even when it's uncomfortable. That's why someone who believes they're a winner keeps going when others quit. They've told themselves a different story, and that story directs their actions. Identity is not fixed. It's not given. It's created by you. You decide who you are, and you back it up with action until it becomes your reality. The fastest way to lock in a new identity is through repetition and reinforcement. Every time you take action that supports the person you want to become, you cast a vote for that identity. One workout doesn't make you fit. One smart financial decision doesn't make you wealthy. But each choice is a brick in the foundation. Do it enough times and the identity becomes solid. The belief becomes automatic. And from there, discipline becomes easier. You don't have to push yourself. You simply act in alignment with who you are. Stop saying you're trying. Stop saying you're stuck. Start deciding who you are. Say it out loud. Write it down. Feel it in your body. And then prove it to yourself every day with small, consistent actions. When an internal shift happens, everything on the outside begins to change. You stop chasing results and start embodying them. You stop needing motivation and start living with purpose. You stop hoping and you start becoming. That's how real change happens. Not through pressure alone, but through identity transformation. Once you change the story, you change your life. If you want to achieve extraordinary results, the first thing you must do is raise your standards. Until you do that, nothing else matters. Most people stay stuck not because they're incapable, but because they've made it acceptable to stay where they are. They've lowered the bar to a level that keeps them comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of progress. When you raise your standards, you immediately create new boundaries for what you will and will not tolerate from yourself, from your habits, and from your environment. And once those lines are drawn, everything changes. It's not about being perfect. It's about refusing to settle. Raising your standards means deciding that your current level is no longer good enough. It means looking at your results with complete honesty and saying, this is not who I am anymore. It's not about comparing yourself to anyone else. It's about comparing yourself to what you know you're capable of. You know when you're giving less than your best. You know when you're letting fear or laziness run the show. But once you raise the bar, once you decide to hold yourself to a higher level, you start acting differently. You speak with more conviction. You move with more urgency. You eliminate the behaviors and excuses that no longer fit the standard you set. The truth is, you can't change your life with the same standards that built your current one. If you keep showing up late, cutting corners, making excuses, and letting your feelings dictate your actions, you'll get more of the same. But if you say, from this moment forward, I will hold myself to a higher level in every area, you force growth. You create a new identity around excellence, discipline, and follow-through. The moment you do that, the pressure rises. But so does your power. The uncomfortable truth is that most people are addicted to their own limitations. They've rehearsed the same excuses for so long. They've started to believe them. But when you raise your standards, you break that pattern. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You stop giving energy to the voice that says, it's okay to coast today. You don't ask if you feel like doing the work. You do it because it's who you are now. That's the level. That's the standard. Your standards are your true thermostat. They determine how much effort you give, how much discipline you show, and how much success you allow yourself to experience. If your life doesn't match your vision, it's because your standards don't match your ambition. Raise them immediately. Set rules for how you show up, what you accept, and how you execute. Hold yourself to them even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's when you grow. That's when you separate from the pack. There's no breakthrough without pressure. And pressure comes when you say, this is a new level. No more excuses. No more delay. This is my new standard, and I will rise to meet it. That's when transformation begins. One of the most powerful ways to force yourself to achieve your goals is to immerse yourself in an environment that demands more from you. Environment shapes behavior. Who you spend time with, the energy you're around, the conversations you're part of. These things mold your mindset more than you realize. You can have the strongest intentions, the clearest vision, and the most detailed plan. But if you're surrounded by people who doubt you, distract you, or normalize mediocrity, you will eventually shrink to match that level. The human brain is built for adaptation, and we adapt to what surrounds us. If you want to grow, you need to surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, elevate your standards, and don't let you play small. You need proximity to excellence. You need to be in rooms that make you slightly uncomfortable, not because you don't belong, but because you know you have to level up to stay there. That discomfort is where the transformation happens. That's where the fire is lit. You start thinking differently. You start dreaming bigger. You start acting faster. Not because someone told you to, but because the energy around you pulls it out of you. Your environment should reflect the future you want, not the past you're trying to escape. That means being intentional with who you allow access to your space, your energy, and your time. Cut out the noise. Distance yourself from those who make excuses, who gossip, who settle. You don't need people to cheer for your limitations. You need people who see your potential and won't let you forget it. Even when you're tired, even when you want to quit, the right environment doesn't just support your growth. It demands it. Sometimes it's not even about people. It's about what you consume, the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the content you engage with. These things feed your mind. Garbage in, garbage out. Power in, power out. If you're constantly consuming negativity, doubt, or distraction, you can't expect your mindset to be sharp and focused. But if you flood your mind with ideas, strategies, and stories of people who overcame the odds, you rewire what you believe is possible. The fastest way to elevate your life is to elevate your environment. When you place yourself in a space that reflects the next version of who you want to be, your behavior starts to shift to match it. It becomes harder to settle. It becomes harder to make excuses. You rise because the environment won't let you stay small. That's not pressure, it's power. That's not stress, it's structure. And structure builds success. You are not just a product of your decisions. You are a product of your surroundings. So build an environment that pulls greatness out of you. One that fuels your vision, strengthens your mindset, and pushes you to become the person your goals require. Because when your environment supports your evolution, everything accelerates. If you want to force yourself to achieve your goals, you must learn to take control of your inner dialogue. Every single day, there's a voice in your head narrating your life, interpreting your challenges, defining your limits, and shaping your emotions. That voice either empowers you or it paralyzes you. Most people don't realize that the biggest battle they'll ever fight isn't against external obstacles, but against their own thoughts. The truth is, your internal dialogue becomes your reality. If your mind is filled with doubt, fear, excuses, and negativity, no amount of external motivation will push you forward. But if your inner voice becomes a force of clarity, certainty, and strength, nothing can stop you. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker behind them. And that means you have the power to change the script. You don't have to believe everything your mind says. You can challenge it. You can replace it. You can condition it. But it takes discipline. It takes consistency. It takes a decision that from this point forward, you will no longer be a prisoner of your mind. You will be its master. You start by becoming aware. You listen to how you talk to yourself when things get tough. Are you your biggest critic or your strongest coach? Are you tearing yourself down or lifting yourself up? The shift begins with language. Words have power. If you constantly say, I can't, it's hard. I'm not ready. Those statements become self-fulfilling prophecies. You start acting in alignment with those beliefs. But when you start using words like, I will, I must, I'm committed, you activate a different part of your brain. You engage the part that finds solutions instead of excuses. The way you speak to yourself should reflect the outcome you want, not the fear you feel. Reprogramming your internal dialogue doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means reinforcing truth with power. It means choosing thoughts that serve your future instead of protecting your comfort. When fear shows up, you don't deny it, you reframe it. You say, this fear is a signal. It means I'm growing. It means I'm stepping into something bigger. You train your mind to see challenges as opportunities and setbacks as setups for comebacks. This isn't just mental fluff. This is psychological strategy. Repetition is key. Just like building a muscle, building mental strength takes reps. Every day, you need to feed your mind with the thoughts that align with who you want to become. Whether it's through affirmations, journaling, visualization, or powerful questions, you must condition your inner voice. Make it impossible to believe small. Make it impossible to talk yourself out of greatness. Because when your internal world is strong, your external world starts to match it. You'll always hear two voices, one that wants comfort and one that pushes for growth. The one that wins is the one you listen to the most. Choose power. Choose possibility. Choose to become the architect of your mindset. Because once you control your inner dialogue, you unlock the ability to take massive action no matter what stands in your way.